Hey, Don.
Hey, Mike, good to see you.
You too. I hear you're showing me around today.
Absolutely.
Good.
Absolutely.
It's a beautiful day for it.
Absolutely.
So I'm thinking maybe we can go down the lower pasture and you can show me down by the credit and talk a bit about the nature down there and show us around.
Let's do that.
Let's do it.
Okay.
So anything particular about up here you can tell us?
Well, this here is the top of the bank. So beyond this is the forest, and this is the entry to the field here, which is one of the few places that you can really get down into the lowlands of the credit for really a couple kilometers either way.
Right, and that's why you guys have so much access to the kind of secluded oasis back here.
Exactly, exactly.
Cool.
Yeah.
Let's check it out. I should have worn my wellies.
Yeah. It might get a bit slippery.
Yeah, geez, I thought it was going to be more frozen than this.
So one thing is, as we walk down here, this is where that picture of the little screech owl is taken, in here.
Okay.
So my tenant told me that he heard one. And again, they sound like the sound of like the whinnying of a horse. And so I just made a point of walking through the woods more.
Right.
And that real dark spot in the woods there is where there's a little squirrel's nest, and on the ground I could see the pellets of the owl.
Right.
And I was looking for them. And so I looked up, and there he was, the little screech owl right there. Really camouflaged, very, very difficult to see.
Awesome, we're going to put that picture right here.
Yeah, so I really had to focus, even for me to see him in the woods.
Oh, that's so neat.
It was amazing. But you can see that dark spot right in the...
Yeah, where it's kind of the most
cedars there.
camouflage
Yeah.
can be achieved.
Right in the back on that big tree. And again, there's a number of owls here. There's the screech owls. There's a little tiny saw-whet owl that you could literally fit in a teacup. And then there's the barred owl, which is very common. You can see them commonly here. And then there's the great horned owls. And the great horned owls, I saw one sitting at the top of a tree over here, and you could hear the male and the female communicating back and forth. And the male, a really deep voice.
So why are there so many owls or different species of owls being attracted to a property like this?
I think that it's just because the valley is so wide here and so secluded that they have really good hunting grounds, and they're not bothered by humans, so they nest here.
Right.
The great horned owl nest here. I'm sure the other ones do. I haven't been able to find their nest, but they're here so often.
Right.
They must be nesting here. And often you can find them at the top of trees like this. You have to walk underneath them and look up, but they're hidden in these trees roosting. And yeah, I mean, you don't see them every day, but often. And you can see the evidence of them. The pellets at the bottom of the trees. If you walk through the forest, we can find tons of them right now, awesome. of a variety of owls. And again, this here is a plateau. The plateau, you can just see the edge of it over there, the trees. It winds all the way around here. And there's evidence that this plateau has been here for approximately 5,000 years. So this is a real wildlife corridor here, and the beauty of this is the wide expanse of valley that goes right, pretty much from Norval, right down to the next line, which is to Huttonville Public School, which is quite a ways downriver. And the wildlife have free reign here. The deer sometimes, if you walk one way and then double back, you'll actually see them on the edge walking back because
they know where you are.
They know where we are.
Right. So you were saying this was all raspberry fields at one point?
Yeah, we had 5 acres of raspberries here, you pick, and it was the largest one in the region. And we actually sold them in the St. Lawrence Market in Toronto.
Oh wow!
The guy across the street with flowers we'd have pickers, and he'd put them in the cold overnight, and he kept telling us to give them more because he had them sold by about 7 in the morning.
Right.
So
you got a fond memory every time you try a raspberry?
Well,
or just a memory of a ton of work.
I used to tell people that people are so fond of raspberries, and to me it's like eating cereal, because we had so many of them.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I loved them, but oh, look at this. That's the coyotes or something, and a rabbit. Used to be a rabbit.
A wascally rabbit.
That's right. But it's just an indication of the wildlife down here. It's
right.
so
prevalent.
So prevalent, and I never realized how much there was until we started putting those cameras in the woods. We always knew it because we see the prints everywhere.
Right.
But until we put those cameras, you know, to see like a northern flying squirrel and a porcupine and that type of thing out here, I had no idea they were here.
Right.
Yeah. And
so talk to me a bit about this this field and this line of trees and the hill.
yeah, so again, here the valley is really wide. And what happens is that when the winds come in here, they come along and the valley narrows. There's cliffs on either side and the hill. So the wind comes up the hill and provides lifts for the bald eagles and turkey vultures and all kinds of other beautiful birds. And so what happens is we see them a lot here. They go into the river to feed, and then they come out and gain lift off this. And so we see them going all the way across here. And the eagles regularly feed in the river and then come up across the whole valley here. And then just to the south, where their nest is on the edge of a pond, just a colossal nest. It must be 7 feet in diameter. So it's absolutely beautiful. We've had the privilege to see these things.
How big would you say the bald eagles are?
Bald eagles, their wingspan can be bigger than 7 feet.
Oh,
they're
wow.
huge. I mean, really colossal. We have a picture up above of a bald eagle being chased by a red-tailed hawk, and that red-tailed hawk is big. And you'll see red-tailed hawk looks tiny. They're
Right.
very, very big birds. And I've seen as many as 6 of them at a time in the river feeding on the salmon. They have a couple favorite spots. One is right in front of the island, and one is farther down where a cliff drops all the rocks into the river. And the fish sort of, when they die, they build up there, and they just sit there. And it's so secluded that they rarely ever see a person down there.
Right.
So,
Wow, I'm excited for you to show us down there.
yeah, let's do
So let's
that.
head down the trail.
So these little boxes here are for bluebirds.
Oh, wow.
So that's the eastern bluebird, and eastern bluebirds are common here. They used to be very rare, but they're common now. The other thing we see here, like there's a nesting pair of trumpeter swans up in the swamp up there.
Okay.
Which come back and forth to the river. There's great blue herons, you know, common daily visitors. But there's also a bird called a great egret, which is like a white great blue heron. The uplands are farmed. But down here, there's just a hay field.
Okay.
So they take
And
hay
it's
off.
got some bees, it looks like.
And there's a Credit Valley apiary that rents, you know, puts his beehives there.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, it really is. It's standing.
And we actually used to have bees ourselves, which
Oh, yeah?
mercifully we got rid of them. But
It's a thing. We need those bees.
and what I've done here is plant a lot of trees. Like some of these hoops here, this is actually shagbark hickory here. So you can see this giant bud on it.
Oh, yeah.
And eventually the bark comes off these things in a great big sheets. But I planted a lot of them because there weren't very many. This is pretty much the northern range of the shagbark hickory. But they produce nuts for wildlife. But the rest of them are oak trees of different descriptions.
I'm just seeing this structure up here. What's that?
So that's actually a turkey feeder. And the structure itself and that skirt is to keep the raccoons and the squirrels from eating all my feed. And so the idea is that it feeds the turkeys, and they do feed around the bottom. I haven't seen them on it yet, but that thing up above has cement in it and another metal can inside that you can fill full of grain.
Oh, wow.
And the deer and the turkeys wild turkeys do come and feed around it. We've seen them roosting all along here, and there's as many as 16 at a time that I've seen.
Really?
Yeah, so they're prevalent through here. They'll come through here. I've actually seen them walk right through the village of Norval. So they're pretty brave. And they've been reintroduced. They were extirpated from Ontario, and they've been reintroduced, and now they are, you know, they're everywhere in here. And one of the shots is a male in the woods. I had a camera trap there, and the male would look at the camera trap like this, and then go off and do his thing, and then come back and look at the trap, and then do his thing. Like he was performing like
Right.
before the camera.
Right.
Like I had about half an hour of shots of this guy, but they are here, yeah. there's sort of a depression here with water in it, and then a nice dry path through here. This is a common place for the wildlife to march through here. So all these things provide sort of cover for the wildlife, and especially the deer. The deer hide their young along the edges of those little wetlands. You know, they'll find a tree and put the young beside it and leave them there, right? They don't take them with them.
Right.
They hide them and hide them from the coyotes. And this thing here, although this used to be where we took irrigation for the raspberries, and the idea of this thing in the middle of it was actually to produce to put a post on it and make an osprey nest.
Oh,
so
wow.
right in the river here, like I've stood here and had an osprey fly by me close enough that I could hear the wind going over its wings. And one of the pictures I have of the riverside that Henry has is right here. And so in the fall, this whole riverbank lights up in sunflowers. So there'll be sunflowers as the sun comes out, it just lights them up, and with this purple in amongst them of a plant called Joe Pyeweed. So it's absolutely beautiful all the way down here. And this is a picture of the salmon. And this place is full of salmon. I've never seen so many salmon. In the last decade, there are so many of them, and huge, colossal fish.
This has to be one of the nicest, cleanest pieces of the credit I've seen. I've sold properties on the credit all the way up, and usually it's just kind of a barren wasteland on the other side, collapsed tree after collapsed tree, just, you know, overgrown but over-cluttered. And then this is just gorgeous. You know, it's like...
And it's so varied. It's really wide, and this is very inaccessible here. Steep hillside on the other side. You can see the cliff here. That's the type of cliff. I mean, you couldn't walk down that.
Yeah.
You know, it'd be dangerous. And those trees there, all the way along that horizon, are perched on a huge cliff. So you can walk along it, but to come down, you can't come down to the river. You'd have to do it a kilometer further down.
Right.
And so, yeah, it's absolutely beautiful. And there's interesting trees here. This is a butternut tree, which are rare.
Yeah.
There's two of them. You can see one of them's diseased, doing very poorly. The other one is not diseased and doing really well. So that one will seed and produce more. If we go down this river, this is actually a field of a really beautiful flower called the Canada lily. And it grows, you know, about 4 to 6 feet tall and has these beautiful orange drooping flowers, just absolutely gorgeous in the fall. And in the springtime, these little low sort of swales here are full of marsh marigolds, and then the marsh marigolds give way to little blue forget-me-nots with buttercups in them. So different times, it's very beautiful. And then this tree here, this tree that's overhanging the river, that's the eagles actually sit. The bald eagles sit right in this tree, right up there, and they just look down on here and just dive into the water. I've actually caught them on video diving into the water and grabbing fish. And this is one of their favorite feeding spots right here at the front of this island, where you can see the water becomes turbulent and it's very rocky. So the salmon are laying their eggs in the rocks. Wow. And you'll see them, they'll turn the whole river upside down, the salmon.
Oh, I'm sure.
And in the spring, it's the rainbow trout. And then in the fall, it's the Chinook, the giant Chinook salmons. So that's actually a picture of the marsh marigolds there with the deer beside them.
Oh, right.
Right. So those are absolutely beautiful flowers, and down in this wet spot, it'll fill up with them. And also skunk cabbage, which is just a unique plant. And there's the property boundary there. So the property boundary, I sort of lay these sticks out where it is. It goes across the hillside, down, and then angles back along that hillside there.
Right.
On that island, back in there, every 5 years you'll see a person. You will never see a person in here. It's just too inaccessible, and it's too difficult to get down from Highway 7.
Unless you own this property.
Unless you own the property here, our property, because no one, I've never seen a soul on this property. This path is cut by us. Nobody ever comes here, and then that's the hillside over there where our neighbor has 60 acres or so, you know, and so yeah, this is really an exclusive area. It's beautiful. Yeah,
wonderful.
And this is again, this is a funnel for wildlife. So the wildlife comes across that hillside and down in here. And see that thing there?
Yep.
That's a little Cooper's hawk. So that's one of the birds, the many types of hawks that come here. You can tell it because it has that long tail. So the wildlife funnels along there, and then they'll either come this way or through along our hillside or through the forest, you know, and daily.
Right.
Yeah.
Now where's the trail end here?
This trail?
Yep.
So it literally goes all the way right to the hillside. But you can see here, you can start to see the stones.
Oh yeah.
And that's I don't think they're here yet. They'll be here soon, the rainbow trout. You can tell because the stones turn white. It's called a red. They flip the stones over to lay their eggs. And but this area here, you can see where you can see the stones over there, just full of them.
Right.
Absolutely full of them. Yeah,
And this it's at this current all year long? In the summer, does it die down a significant amount, or?
It'll die down a little bit, but it's not that high right now. I mean, it'll get high here.
Right.
There can be pieces of ice on here, 1.5 feet thick.
Right.
You know, on this, and it can go right across there. Yeah, it'll bury the island at times, but it does it rarely.
Beautiful.
Yeah. You can actually get an ATV across here and across the other side, and go down the river about 4 or 5 kilometers.
Because it's shallow enough.
It's shallow enough in a couple places here. You just cross, and then the land's down there. You know, there's Camper Bogey, old Camper Bogey. There's just the odd person down there.
Oh.
It'd be rare that you'd ever bump into anyone for quite a distance. So this trail sort of ends just here, and then there's our house, the house there. That's the cabin. And our land comes across here and up to the point up there.
Oh, beautiful.
And then you have access to that beautiful trail along here. And these trees here are really old growth forest. They've never been touched.
Right.
And if you walk along there, you'll just see stands of just absolutely colossal trees.
I can tell from
Absolutely
here.
colossal, yeah.
Well, let's do a little hike up the hill here.
Okay.
We'll meet you at the top and show you around the grounds up top. That's a hike.
Made it? Good.
Well, so we're back up top here. Beautiful. And you got another. Is this a feeder here? Or?
Yeah, that's a feeder. It was originally for the turkeys, but it seems the deer really like it as well, and just about everything else.
Right. Yeah, it's a smorgasbord.
So that's the corner of the property. There's 2 property boundaries there, and those trees, you can see where the pileated woodpecker has just cleared the bark off those trees,
right.
feeding, right? And that's a picture of it there. And they're resident here. They come. You will see them every evening come across here. If you learn the sound of them, you can hear them calling each other, the male and female, as they come across. And generally, they come across between the 2 properties and stop on that great big pine tree over there. And you can see around the property where they, you know, like even that birch tree there, there's holes in it. All the trees, right. There's holes throughout them. And this is actually here a little stand of sugar maples.
So you can tap these?
So you can tap them. And in fact, when I was a kid, we tapped this giant one here.
Oh wow, yeah.
And it's almost dead, but you can see, you can actually see the taps. Because it's died, you can see the holes, like here, here, and here, and up there where we actually tapped it. And the woodpeckers have made them bigger, but there used to be corks in those. When the bark first fell off, there was still corks in them from when we stuffed them back.
Stuffed them back.
And so all these, I've sort of trimmed this little area for these sugar maple trees to keep them at a decent distance. Most of them you could tap, you know, those ones you could tap now. You could put a tap on each of them. That one you could put a couple. You know, you have to get the idea, but they're you don't want to drain them too much. And then this is a really common place for a funnel for the wildlife here. And you can see over here a path that they create. And you can see how they've dug it right into the hillside here. Comes
yeah.
around here and right down here. And then when, like you can see, it's quite a distinct path here. And then right up in that tree there, you can see a broken branch there. And that's where the great horned owl nest was. And we thought maybe it was originally the first eagle's nest, because the great horned owls typically don't make their own nest. They typically rob them from either a red-tailed hawk or an eagle. I mean, we didn't even know there was eagles here until about a decade ago.
What a view of that river from here.
Absolutely beautiful, isn't it? And this whole thing is a field of wild leeks, this whole area. And you can use them, you can eat them.
I was going to say, can you?
Yeah, they're great for salads. You can put them in salads. They're a very mild onion. And these trees, again, are shagbark hickories. And then over here, you can see where the pileated woodpecker has knocked holes in that tree.
All right.
And that tree is as hard as anything, like oak or maple. And you can actually see the beak marks chipping into the wood. Like, you'd think the thing would have a hell of a headache.
So this is beautiful. Now we get kind of four buildings it looks like, nestled up top right on the ridge here. So this was kind of a bunkie before, being used as a bunkie, so to speak?
Yeah, it was a little cabin. We just called it the cabin. That was sitting on stilts, and we expanded it a bit. And you can see that all that wood on it, the board and batten, came from the forest, as well as the floor inside. And the deck on the back, much of the wood is from the forest.
Oh, wow.
And then we had a tenant in here who he would text me and tell me, I can see the deer, I can see the wild turkeys,
right.
I can see the owl. And the picture of him there is standing on his back deck, and the branch is that branch on that pine tree. So that's the barred owl, which the barred owl is a common visitor here. It clearly lives in this woods. I don't know where, but it does.
He's around.
And this is a picture of that great horned owl.
Right.
And that's the mother with two chicks looking straight at me. The male would never on the nest. It would always stay down on the hillside there, and you could hear them chatting back and forth. And that nest there, you can see that dead branch on the side. You can see it in that pine tree. That nest was under constant attack from crows, hawks, everything.
Right.
And they just defended it.
They can be vicious if they need to be, right?
If they need to be, yeah. But it was interesting because having the nest there and them dropping all the food that they fed, I learned that they were almost exclusively feeding on birds, which I thought was unusual. Didn't know that.
Really?
Yeah. And then this is a little orchard here of all kinds of trees, apples, pears. This is a bosque pear, which produces fruit, and then the quinces here. That quince tree is about 70 years old, and I took the other ones from it. So and there's little cherry trees and plums and stuff like that. So.
And this is the kind of the main property or the main house here?
That's the main house, yeah. And again, that was expanded, and that house was designed by an architect, friends of ours, and the walls around it are double. So there's an original wall, and then on the new portions, we put a 2x6 wall, 10 tests, and then another 2x6 wall. So you can see inside the thickness of the window. So that's a double insulated wall.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's really well insulated, yeah.
Is this how you found your inspiration to go into the insulation business?
No, but, funnily enough, no, but I did start in industrial design. I started in industrial design, and just fell into it. Yeah.
And this is kind of the studio or solarium?
Yeah, that used to be our tractor shed, not with that door on it.
It's one hell of a tractor shed.
Yeah, but again, built pretty much, well, actually exclusively with wood from the forest. And
you guys milled all that yourselves?
We had a portable mill in here and milled it all, yeah. Logged them all, dragged them up here, and again, this here, funnily enough, was those morel mushrooms I was talking about. Because of all the sawdust on the ground, we had a bloom of morel mushrooms up here, and they still grow. Every year there's a couple of them, Not as
You had a Shoppers grocery store full.
It was great. Yeah.
Yeah, this is just beautiful setting here. And then we have that 2-car shop, but it's, I mean, certainly it could be a 10-car shop.
Yeah, that's a big one. And again, this building here, the walls are spray foam, as is the ceiling, and then some of this is cellulose, dense packed cellulose, but it's very well insulated. And this shop here, the walls are built of 2x6, rough cut 2x6, so 6 inches, spray foamed walls. The floor is, again, it's a high mass radiant floor heating slab sitting on 3 inches of spray foam with foam around the perimeter. And then the attic there is that metal, but on that metal is 3 inches of spray foam.
Oh wow.
And then about our 50 cellulose. So that attic is probably our 60, 70, something like that.
Oh wow.
So super well insulated, which is a benefit for a shop because very few of them are insulated at all.
Yeah, no, you're just burning.
You're just burning fuel.
Burning fuel to stay, just to keep your hands from freezing off, right?
That's right. So that one's really warm, and because it's high mass radiant slab, it doesn't cool quickly. You know, it stays at constant temperature. And well insulated doors too. The same thing with the other barn. Very, very well insulated doors.
Yeah, it's just tremendous. It's a beautiful setting here.
And this tree here, this pine, was there. My dad said, my dad's 92, and he said that was a big tree when he was a kid.
Right.
And the top of it is the resting point of like almost all of the birds that come through, from the bald eagles to the pileated woodpeckers. They come and they sit up there and do their calls and then go about their business.
And this is kind of this is the property boundary that takes us back to that 2-acre parcel at the front.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So this and this roadway has been built up over the years with tons of gravel.
Yeah. Tons of screenings.
Tons of it. Yeah. You can see this from here onwards was done recently. In fact, we put almost a foot of screenings in this low spot here. The little stream that goes underneath. It never really gets more than that trickle there.
Little babbling brook.
Little babbling brook, and goes down through the forest. And there's actually unique little crayfish in there that dig a hole because it dries out completely. It never makes it to the river. They dig a hole in the ground, and you can see a little thing, a clump of dirt on top of them. And apparently they're fairly rare in the Credit Valley, but they're there. Again, just a beautiful forest. And the deer are often in here, in this area.
Right.
The deer and the turkeys. Wherever people don't go often, that's where they are. And they know where you are.
Yeah, of course, they know where you are.
With the camera traps that I put out, you can see that when I go and collect them, sometimes I can see that the animals are there, 5 minutes before, and they've just moved on. It's interesting to see how in the traps, when the deer are around, the other wildlife are very comfortable, the raccoons and squirrels. When they're not there, not so much.
Right.
Because I think they can sense the coyotes or foxes or where they are. And interestingly, the deer and the coyotes never come through the trap very close together. The deer are always far away from them.
So here's our barn.
The slopes with R31, which is standard for any house, and then there's rigid foam on the outside of here. You can just see it under there,
yeah.
And in the front, and so it's highly insulated, and we can heat it with a little 1,000-watt heater.
The warmest, most overbuilt shop in
yeah,
hundreds of kilometers.
And then the floor, I actually dug down the floor and put about a foot of gravel in it, and you can just see the spray foam here. There's 3 inches of spray foam under this slab.
Right.
And then radiant pipes in the slab, and you can just see here that there's the foam in the middle of this slab. So that goes 4 feet down, that foam there.
And that's on propane.
Well, it would be.
Right.
It's not. There's no boiler yet.
Okay.
So you have to put a boiler in, but all the pipes are in, ready to go. Yeah.
Cool. Fantastic.
And all these beams, the additional beams, apart from the other ones, are from a barn down the street. So I got them all, cut these in half, put these on, and then the main posts are sitting on them to
Yeah, there's
to add more
there's
strength.
one hell of a load point there.
Yeah.
So talk to me a bit about the bungalow here.
Yeah, the bungalow was built in the 70s, and it's really well built. It was insulated, a 2x6 structure with you know, R20 bat insulation. I think it's about 1,400 square feet in that range.
Yeah.
And
not including that big walkout basement. That's probably 1,400 square feet.
that's
too.
right as well. Yeah. And so it's well insulated in the walls and around the basement. And then the attics are reasonably well insulated, and not to R60 today, but probably around R40. So that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Anyways, it's a beautiful place, and it looks out on this great big 2 acres, which used to be a market garden. The guy who lived here had a market garden and earned a living doing that.
Right.
So it, and then now there's this beautiful parking pad here. Which is
For 100 cars.
for as many cars as you need. So it's just a beautiful property because you know it does look out over all this beautiful treescape.
Then there's this garage.
Yeah.
So little carport / garage with a little storage shed on the other side kind of thing.
Yeah. So it's you know covered parking for 4 cars.
And what, did your family own the back and then you bought the front, or?
That's right. We owned the back, and then we bought this one when they put it up for sale. Yeah.
Right.
Property line here is approximately those cedars. Yeah. Right on the other edge of a little swale to keep the property dry.
Right. What was the case here with the grading or something like that?
Well, he had heavy equipment.
Right.
So, and he worked for what was it, Unilock
Yeah.
in Brampton. So he would just created this pad with his with the throwaways from there. And
Oh, wicked.
that's what you see. You know, you could dig in here and pull out all these Unilock blocks and make your own patio if you want. But this is good soil. You can grow stuff here. You could have a heck of a garden here.
Well, that's for sure.
I mean, I had just started it with these little raised beds, just gooseberries and raspberries. I did plant a whole row of spruce trees around the whole property, so you can just see they're just starting to come up now, and these things will create a wall in a few years.
And the supply of free Christmas trees too.
There you go. Yeah. Exactly.
Wow. I mean, it really is an outstanding property, my friend.
Thanks, Mike.
Well, listen, I super appreciate you showing me around today. I'd be very proud to have had my family here, and I'm looking forward to showcasing it for you.
Well, thanks very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good to see you again.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We'll talk soon.
Thanks.